Welcome to episode 47 of the Rebel Army podcast, the official podcast of Cork City Football Club. And it's another weekend of highs and lows. Back with the podcast, joined as always by Aaron. How are you?
Not too bad, Stephen. How are you? Lovely day with the sun out, beaming in the windows here.
That's one positive we can definitely take over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Anyway, the weather has been a bit better. And as we look forward to a couple of games over the weekend, sunshine at the grass is always nice. It's much better in the winter when it's freezing. So I'm looking forward to that one. But a bit of an up and down weekend last weekend, I suppose. Kick off first with Rovers on Friday night. Brilliant defensive performance.
Yeah,
you'd have to say to the lads. TT was brilliant on goal and stuff. And actually pushed on towards at the end as well. Obviously brilliant equaliser, the high of Freddie getting the goal against them, and and actually a good finish too.
Yeah, I think on that game, second half performance in particular was brilliant.
Yeah,
Freddie's goal, as you said, for a centre back to strike it that well,
to get a goal like that.
He was joking himself after the game. We brought him in for the post match press, and he was kind of saying, to his buddies, he's always been saying, "I would make a good striker. Like I can hit a ball cleanly." Yeah. Nobody ever believed him, and now he has that to back himself up. So
centre backs often make good strikers as well.
They do, yeah.
We've seen that in recent weeks in different leagues and stuff. Like fellas falling in at the last minute,
lumping him up when you need a goal, and it often works. It wasn't.
Was it Inter Milan on the Champions League this week? They threw up a defender.
Yeah.
It's the same type of thing.
The whole way up, every level of football, it works. Yeah, but it wasn't even like Freddie was throwing up. It was just he was on the. He actually said himself. He watched it back and he was like, I don't know why I was where. He doesn't know. Couldn't figure out why he was standing where he was. How he ended up there.
He wasn't even in the mix of it. He was kind of back a bit.
He was outside the box.
For centre backs, are usually kind of in the mix.
But Daniels laid it off to him.
Yeah.
Freddie hit it very, very cleanly.
Yeah.
And
the celebrations were epic.
The cross erupted. That's one thing about Turner's Cross. And, we always go on about how brilliant the atmosphere is, which I suppose, first of all, the atmosphere in that second half against Shamrock Rovers was the best home atmosphere in a long, long time.
Brilliant.
A long, long time. But there's something about when there's a late goal in Turner's Cross, any goal in Turner's Cross, but particularly a late goal.
Yeah, we saw it against Waterford.
You see the shed, everyone bouncing around out of their seats, the whole stadium, the whole stand lifts up. It looks phenomenal. It's one of the best looking stadiums for a late celebration like that. But
and I know, like in an ideal situation, we'd always be playing into the shed in the second half. Every now and again, we get it thrown the opposite direction.
It ruins it. You see the teams turning around, you're like, oh God, it ruins the game before it even starts. Even if you win, you're annoyed that you score into the St. Anne's second half or rather than into the shed. But
to get a late equaliser or a late winner or something like that into the shed is where,
that's where everyone wants to be. Yeah. You hear players talk about how it almost feels like the ball is being pulled or sucked into the goal from that end of the ground, and it's phenomenal. It always has been. That's never sort of wavered over the years. It's always been incredible. But I think the last couple of weeks, particularly as I was saying, that Shamrock game was. It's all the usual, all the anti-Dublin chants and stuff like that, the proper Cork City-isms on a Friday night, which is exactly what you want.
Going into it, look, the big fear would be that, and I say a lot of fans were thinking, they gave us our biggest beating bit this season up in Tala. That was the one probably result that there was a bit of a difference. The rest, all the other results, they were close enough. They weren't dramatic as such.
Yeah,
So you're kind of worried as they come down, especially with a couple of people missing on top of who were missing that time. There was always that fear that it could turn out to be a bit of a bad night, and it actually was very positive.
It was complete opposite. Yeah, I know what you mean. Particularly the game up there. Look, it was the worst of the season. It was the worst defeat. It wasn't. It just wasn't good overall, I suppose,
good,
really.
So, I suppose in the back of I'd imagine a lot of, I was thinking you're kind of terrified in many ways before you go into the game, saying, okay, if we could get any result here, it's a good one.
I have this thing where I'm sort of just blindly optimistic all the time anyway. So. Yeah. But, look, 1-1 was definitely a good result. It's another game where, look, if you had the likes of your Seani Maguires or Rory Keatings in that team, you'd win that game. At home, you definitely win that game.
Definitely.
But yeah, look, I saw a stat during the week. We've lost 17 points from winning positions, which, as you're saying, yes, the one in Tala was a heavy defeat, but that sort of shows that we've very much been in games. In fact, we've been leading games for the most part. So
actually, Shamrock Rovers game on last Friday was actually the other way around for the change. Well, I suppose Waterford was too. So the last 2 home games, we've kind of got results out of from being behind.
Yeah, and I'm not
Whereas
saying
usually it's the other way. Well, away definitely we have been ahead and have kind of
and they've come back. And I'm not saying that that's okay or anything, but I'm just like, if you had went out and lost every game or you weren't in anything, at least this shows that we are competitive. We are there. We are capable of getting goals against these teams. We just need to get more goals against these teams and concede fewer goals, which that will come as well.
Yeah, and then I suppose we went up the road a good bit up the road up to Drogheda on Monday and got off to a great start, an early goal.
6 minutes,
And Mr. Daniels was in the box again early, and he took his finish well.
He was phenomenal on Monday, to be honest. That first goal was absolutely brilliant. I think he won the ball on or near the halfway and started the attack and kind of drove himself into the box and smashed it in off the underside of the bar, which was, that was the perfect start.
Yeah.
You go up there as well, Drogheda, where I think we're second at the time, or they were up there anyway.
Even though they had a bit of a, I suppose, well, they weren't losing games, they were just drawing a load of games, actually, was what was happening.
Yeah. But great start, great goal. Then you end up 2-1 down, and it's the worst thing in the world. You're feeling awful.
That free kick kind of caught him out, though.
The free kick, and I watched it back afterwards, and
I'm not really,
on the TV angle, I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, Truce didn't even go for it. He was very far away." The TV angle doesn't do it justice. It took a huge deflection.
What is it?
Like a massive deflection.
Yeah.
Which we could see from where I was. It was about the only thing I could see, to be honest. And I was in that main stand in Drogheda, and there's poles and pillars and floodlights. You literally can't see anything.
Disaster.
I had to move around myself to see Gennaro's 2 goals and to see the incident at the end. But yeah, not ideal. But I did see the deflection. Massive deflection, took it to the other side of the goal. And Gennaro's second goal, then, it looked from where I was like it was kind of just this scrappy finish, but from watching back from the other angle, he kind of flicks it behind him, it falls between the goalkeeper and the defender, and he smashes it in. So it's a really good goal as well. 2-2 then.
I suppose what impressed me about him there is that his positioning, he's in the box, he's getting ready to fucking pounce. Like that's the one thing you want from a forward. You want them in the box, ready to take their chances when they happen. It doesn't matter whether they're 6 yards out or not. Like that's where the action happens most of the time.
And even at that, if he's not in the box, he puts himself around a lot. Like he's sprinting up and down the pitch.
He's a big guy too.
You'll see it. The second goal he got, he actually sprinted the whole length of the pitch back to celebrate with the City bench. So, definitely a workhorse.
2 goals and an assist for him over the last 2 matches. So
good return, yeah. But obviously, I suppose, in a way, it nearly all counts for nothing when you concede a late goal to lose. But
look, I wasn't up there, but it looked harsh. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Again, I had a pillar and a pole and a floodlight blocking me, so I didn't get the best view of it. I thought it was a penalty, but maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I haven't actually looked back at that. It looked like a bit of a
50-50 kind of a challenge. But
I saw a couple of people say it looked like a foul on Truce.
Yeah.
Again, I couldn't.
I don't know, because usually referees tend to side with the goalkeepers a lot of the times. But look, maybe that's just biased hat on.
Or against Cork City.
In a split second difference there, I wouldn't have been. I would have.
Yeah. It could have been, or if someone was a second earlier or a second later, it could have been different.
So it was just unlucky and so late in the game.
That's the sickening part.
5 minutes into injury time or something.
Yeah. We got a late winner ourselves a few weeks ago, and it was brilliant.
I know.
And then when it's against you, it's just heartbreak. But
so
that's football, as they say.
And but I suppose you're losing another point. I know it's only a point, but still, they all count at the end of the day.
Absolutely, they do. Yeah, yeah.
And I know, look, the fans are listening, and all of a sudden, from a few weeks ago, us being ahead of Waterford to me a couple of points behind them now, because they've had a bit of a run. But that can change again.
And it will change.
Things will go up and down. And
look at how tight the league is. Everyone is around or near everyone. That's going to change a lot. It's going to there'll be a lot of movement even over the next 2 or 3 weeks, not even just over the next 2 or 3 months or the rest of the season. In the short term,
I
there'll be
think
a lot
we
of
might
movement.
have said something there about Bows a few weeks ago, and Bows were kind of, well, some people were saying they were in a relegation battle, and some people were saying they were battling for the league, but they've had a couple of wins, and all of a sudden they're up the table again. You know what I mean?
So you had Bows fans, and Twitter was in meltdown, and people calling for the manager to be sacked and all this, and they're probably the most informed team in the league now, or one of anyway.
And we were talking about it last week about the time, like the difference between now and, you know, at the time we last won the league, when we like actually came up on my Facebook memories the other day. There was a penalty in the cross, right? Seani took the penalty. It was like going back in time, all right?
Yeah.
So, and I obviously videoed it or something at the time. And I think, like, so that's, let's say 8 years ago, I'd say, was it? Yeah, probably was 2017 season. So 8 years ago anyway. And I was into St. Anne's End, and I said, what a night again, 12 out of 12. Like,
that was the winning run, actually. Yeah, it was 12 in a row. Yeah,
like 36 points.
Yeah,
I mean, what are we on? Game 14 or something at the moment? I think, is it 14
something
or 15?
like that? Yeah,
and like
it's 24
points. Yeah. Like, you know, so like
it's so different. It shows how dominant we were, but it shows how tight this year's league is as well, and how anyone can end up anywhere. So
so I think it's there's a long way to go yet. Look, we have to, like we said the last week, we have to be a bit optimistic and think that, you know, results like against Shamrock Rovers on Friday night, more of that can happen. And I definitely think the cross makes a difference. We've still only lost one at home. I mean, so
the typical and historical sort of fortress feeling is coming back to Turner's Cross a bit, isn't it? I know now the last couple of years wasn't ideal, but there is a bit of a
definitely
fear again among other teams to come to Turner's Cross and have to play in front of the shed and in front of a nearly full Turner's Cross. It does have an impact, and it's clear as day it has an impact.
Speaking of the cross, the women played on Saturday. Then in between the two men's games, they lost 2-0 to Bows.
Bows, probably a game as well that was a disappointing one to lose, because we would have been capable of beating Bows. Beat them twice at Turner's Cross last year, and once away last year, so was a disappointing one. Another, I know we spoke about it and we're speaking about it nearly every week, there's another academy player that made the step up. Ciara O'Driscoll got her first appearance, so
that's great though. It
is great. It's another thing I suppose that's enforced in such a way by injuries to the women's team as well as the men's team, but that sort of thing, I suppose, again, it's football, that provides opportunities for younger players to make the step up.
But as one came in, one said farewell. And I'd imagine it was a bit of an emotional time for Colleen as she bidded farewell to the team. Some lovely pictures, and she put up a lovely post herself, I think, on social and stuff the other day. Yeah,
she did. So we didn't mention it in last week's episode, I don't think. I did know about it at the time that Colleen was going to be announcing that she was stepping away. From her point of view, I suppose she would have had this idea of her last game, might get a goal or two, you know, great occasion at the Cross, and we win. That wasn't to be. 2-0 defeat, as you said, and she was very emotional, understandably, I suppose, coming off. I think she came off 87, 88 minutes, something like that.
And she's finishing football now, is she?
Finished completely. And
like we obviously, like, and if you haven't listened to it, there's a great backstory there, and
how she ended up here.
And you know,
meeting a Cork man in America, getting married.
But playing up in Scandinavia a bit as well, and you know, like, you know, it was a great story.
Yeah, it was, to be fair. And she's not leaving Cork. They're not going back to America. I think they're settling in Cork. She's just she said she was kind of feeling it, like she picked up an injury a couple of weeks back away to Shell as well. She said she wasn't recovering properly, and she kind of wanted to go out on her terms. That's kind of the message she was putting across, that she didn't want to be a player where people were looking at her saying, "Oh, remember when she was the best?"
That's understandable though. If you feel that like it's time to go.
Yeah, she wanted to go on her own terms. She felt the time was right. Obviously, everyone at the club supports her in that decision as well. But Saturday was her last game. She was presented with her jersey signed by her teammates and all that. Lovely little guard of honour for her as well, going down the tunnel afterwards. So, as we said, she's still in Cork. She's actually working at Zeus Packaging, so I'm in contact with Colleen quite a bit on the marketing side of things there, because she takes care of Zeus's socials. So,
very good.
We'll still see her around. She'll still be at the Cross. She's sort of hinted at the fact that she might potentially come back and be involved in maybe coaching capacity in
which would be great,
someday.
especially maybe the academy teams, like, to have her experience is something that we spoke about with her last year in terms of like, was she giving advice to
And she can pass on her experience and advice, as you said. So
even about the college system in the US, because I know a lot of them want to go down that route as well.
A lot of them
the
see that
game,
as the pathway they have to take, but that might not be true for everybody, and she can share that experience.
And it's changing a bit as well, like, so so yeah, no, it's best of luck to her going forward.
Absolutely,
if she's listening to this, don't be a stranger to us,
I'm sure we'll see her at Turner's Cross regularly. She loves Turner's Cross, she loves football, so I'm sure she'll be able to watch and support her former teammates.
Yeah,
maybe not for a while. She's probably earned a couple of weeks off, a couple of weeks away from everything at this point, but yeah, very best of luck to her.
Speaking of someone else who left us before but is back in football, I see our former manager Colin Healy and former player has taken over the Kerry job.
Down to Kerry, I didn't see that coming, but I think that's a brilliant appointment.
It's a big move for Kerry. Their coach has kind of stepped into an assistant role, and he's kind of which is an unusual one.
Yeah, it's I haven't seen anything like that before, I don't think, but doesn't necessarily mean it's, I suppose, a bad thing or anything. It's just,
it shows ambition from Kerry as well, to be fair.
Yeah, I think from chatting to a couple of lads down in Kerry, they see this as like a really big step in what they're trying to do. So it's exciting for Munster football in Munster, I suppose. And if Kerry do step up and become a big club and manage to get promoted eventually, that's a win-win for everybody, really.
To be honest, we do need more teams down the side of the world.
It's so Dublin centric.
It's very Dublin centric, like the league, so like obviously ourselves and Waterford are there, but to have only 2 teams from Munster
in the Premier Division,
it's.
I'd love to get to a point. I know we spoke about it before, where there's an expanded league with maybe more than the 10 teams.
I often thought that too as well.
Remember, we used to have 12 last time we won the league, but something like that, where there's more clubs, there's more regional clubs. Like obviously now there's ourselves, Derry, Sligo, Galway. Get Kerry in, get Limerick in.
Yeah.
Other clubs like that, Finn Harps, if they manage to get promoted again, would be great. It adds to the travel for us, but
you'd often wonder, I used to think before, would we be better off just one league, and because of the size of the country. But
I personally would love that.
But then I suppose you'd lose out in the whole drama, but relegation.
There's something to do with European qualification and criteria that has to be met and stuff.
You can't be like what the Americans do, basically. That's what that.
I think there needs to be promotion and relegation, but I suppose with this National League system coming in over the next couple of years as well, I think there'll be a lot of change. I think they're looking at a 10-team Premier, a 10-team First, and then a North and South, 2 10 teams. So I'd like to get to a point where we got more than 10 teams, because I don't know, you play a team 4 times, you could get them in the cup. You're playing them potentially 5, maybe 6 times if it's a President's Cup situation.
I know the Scottish system is the same, but
when it was us in Dundalk challenging for everything back in the day,
we
were playing them about 20 times a year. You get sick of them.
You feel like you're playing the same team over and over again,
or you're in the same ground because you're up and down the road to Oriel Park, or they're up and down the road to Cork.
Maybe if they could do 2-12 division team, or 2 12s or something.
Even something like that, eventually when National League teams make the step up and 2 go to the first, and then or 4 go to the First Division and 2 First Division clubs go Premier, or something like that. I know there was talk a couple of years back of an All-Ireland League as well, something like that.
Yeah.
We obviously have the All-Ireland Cup on the women's side, but
that's floated around a good bit over the years. But then it's the whole European thing as well. You get extra players.
And the national teams and who get, there's it's a lot more.
You might actually
involved.
lose out on European places if you merge the two.
There's a lot more involved than just say, stick them all in there together and they can play against each other.
Yeah.
It's not that straightforward, but I would like to see more. Overall, more teams, more variety in opposition. You look at the clubs, I suppose they're in the academy team, the academy leagues. Long term, the majority of them would look at wanting to be in the Senior League of Ireland as well. So you've got your CK United, Carlow Kilkenny, Mayo.
Yeah, there's a good few.
I know Limerick are in the academy. I think one club in Limerick is probably enough.
Probably, yeah. Obviously,
who
there's
else
a couple
is there?
of
Yeah, that's the route Kerry went down a couple of years ago. Yeah. They were obviously an academy team that stepped up.
Obviously, there's a couple of big, I suppose, once the Senior League teams in Cork, but I'm not sure any of them will make the the step up to the League of Ireland, because there's already 2 teams in the county. Like, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll see with this National League, because I haven't seen the teams that applied, but I read somewhere online that there was a lot of interest in Cork. So
yeah, no, they're very successful.
you could probably guess. We won't go into it here.
Yeah.
But you could probably guess which clubs
It
in
might
Cork
be
applied
ones
for it.
that are a bit away, like have their own ground outside of the city centre as well.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like that kind of setup.
Some clubs in Cork that have phenomenal
Yeah,
facilities.
they
like,
do.
so.
Yeah. And then some
It'll be
have been
very interesting to
successful.
see.
I mean, like, it was recently their College Corinthians played Ringmahon in the FAI Intermediate Cup final. So that's the showcase for non-league.
Yeah, and if you look at that as well, I think there was nearly 3,000 at the game.
But it was huge crowd.
There was another 2,000 or 3,000 watching online, so it shows the interest that's there in that level of football and those kind of clubs. So,
and it was a great match as well, actually. Yeah. So like there is, and a former Cork City player, a couple of them, like Marky Sull got injured, and
Marky Sull broke his collarbone, I think, today.
Yeah, a warrior by that man, but he's still playing.
What a legend Marky Sull is, by the way.
Yeah.
Do you know what? We need to get Marky Sull in here.
Yeah, I think he has the record of FAI Intermediate Cups. As someone said to me, he has something like 7. He won loads, obviously, with Avondale, and then he won with Corinthians recently. So, like, it's phenomenal. And plus, I think he has an FAI Cup with us as well. He was with us one day for one of those.
16, yeah.
So,
Shawnee's won, yeah.
Yeah, so like
Shawnee's won, like it's just Shawnee's final.
I think he was a part-time player with Cork City, like, you know.
Yeah,
you know,
people forget as well he came back as a full-time player in or was he full-time or part-time? I can't even remember. He came back in 2019.
That's right, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. He's great. He's a workhorse. Like, he's like just put a great goal scorer. We're talking about Daniels there. We're like, Marky Sull is a bit like that. Like, get into the box, battle, or get ahead, or
Marky Sull was one of those like proper League of Ireland characters.
Yeah. So and who knows? Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I suppose this non-league could potentially be a breeding ground for future Premier Division players. You know what I mean? Like, if they're bringing in this conference,
absolutely,
North and South or whatever.
The one thing I don't want to see with that National League, I know Shamrock tried it a few years ago, but you don't want any B teams. And stuff like that.
They were trying to years ago as well. Yeah, no. They kind of do that in Spain and places like that as well. It's a bit weird.
And there's things where, like, I know Barcelona and Real Madrid have B teams in, like,
they can't get
the third league. Something like that.
Like, it's, I don't know.
And now I think that was a criteria. I know Shams had Shamrock Rovers, had a B team. I think it was 2020, was it?
Yeah.
The COVID season. And no, they weren't good. Like, they weren't challenging in the first division. But in theory, if they did, they wouldn't get promoted. But it takes away from it, I think.
I think it's not. No, you can't.
It feels anti-football in a way.
No, anti-football. But speaking of, I suppose the academy teams and all that, how did our own lads get on into weekend and the girls?
Yeah, we had a full schedule again. Every team was on. So on Saturday, first of all, the men's under 20s had a 1-0 loss away to CK United. Women's under 17s were at home. Cork Derby actually in Bishopstown against Cove Ramblers. 4-0 win. Leo Leary Callender, Julia Farina, Amy McCarthy and Sophia Redmond got the goals in that. 15s had a big win then on the same day away to CK United. On Sunday, the women's 19s were at home against DLR Waves in Bishopstown. 1-1 draw. Mia Cudahy got the goal for Cork City. 17s had a big win against CK United up in Mayfield, and the men's under 14s had a 3-0 win also against CK United. So all the boys teams played CK United. Bobby Harrington got 2 and Horan Tajoa got 1.
Oh yeah, and good to see Horan back, because I know he was injured at the start of the season for a while. So, and obviously that's their first season as well. So I know Liam was talking a bit about him there a while back. So, so great, good results there. Mixed. It was a couple of mixed results as well. But it's always
good to see they're all in action though.
Good to see they're all in action, and
you'd see it. There's some weeks there's an idle team where there's breaks for the school breaks and stuff like that. But I suppose seeing them all in action as well. It's a busy weekend for the whole club, which is good to see.
Yeah, and more to come this weekend. So obviously Friday night at the Cross, our good old pals from the north, Derry are down.
Battle of the Cities.
Battle of the Cities. Like, do they call? I suppose this is the big question. Do they call themselves Derry or City? Like up there, what do they call themselves?
I've had an unofficial discussion about this with the lads involved at Derry and their social media and stuff. We obviously get very particular about being called Cork.
Yeah, because that's the GA.
They get very particular about being called Derry.
Okay.
They call themselves City up there. There's kind of like a mutual agreement that we can give each other a pass we'll call them Derry. They can call
So
us.
they
Cork.
actually do call themselves.
They
City.
call themselves City. Yeah. So there's almost like neither of us will kick up a fuss too much because we're both in the same boat. It's like
So
an understanding.
It's the Battle of the Cities. So.
Battle of the Cities is what we call it. Yeah. But obviously it's the second meeting of the season.
The last time, obviously, Rory got his injury up there.
Yeah.
So, but I suppose Derry had a bit of a slow start to the season, but they've really kicked off in recent weeks.
Yeah.
They've won 4 out of the last 5.
A couple of big wins in the last week.
Last weekend in particular really showed that good defensively, didn't concede a goal. They had a win against Pats and Shells. I mean, I think, like there were 2 good results for them. And I think they're starting to kick into place. I know they brought a couple of lads in from like Scotland and places, and and it probably took them a while to get going.
There was a joke pre-season that everyone was saying the Derry squad was old, and I know their manager was making jokes about having walking frames and everything. But no, as you said, they've done well. Had a bit of a slower start, but they've a lot of players who are former internationals in their squad and stuff like that. And they've a lot of experience as well.
Experience is key.
Saw something the other day. Brian Maher's playing goal for them, and I think he started 111 consecutive league games. That's phenomenal going. And that's a lot of League of Ireland experience for a young goalkeeper as well. So
they're third in the table. They're only a point off the top at the moment.
They're right up there. If you look at last year, they were involved right up until towards the end.
They they obviously got to the FAI Cup final as well, and Drogheda beat them. But so what could have been potentially their best ever season nearly.
Yeah,
ended up kind of
probably a failure in a way. I suppose.
I'd imagine they kind of probably felt they left it there.
Yeah,
they were kind of in the mix all the way to the end on both fronts. I think they did okay in Europe, from what I remember, but not great. But
I think I don't know, was it last season or the year before? They'd lost to
a
really small club.
Yeah,
and I know their fans weren't a bit happy with that.
I think that was the year before. Was it? Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, there was a club from Gibraltar, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. Like you'd expect a League of Ireland team to be beaten.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Gibraltar is one of the smallest places. I was there once. Like
yeah.
They've a couple of bones up the hill. And
I remember seeing when Ireland played against them, and you'd have the airport, you have planes landing in the background.
Yeah, but you have to go through customs when you're coming in. Like so, we went in on the bus for the day. Like, but lovely little place. Like, but. I'm surprised they even have actually a league, like,
and teams that get into Europe. Like,
it's probably the size of bloody Mallow, like,
yeah. Imagine that, Mallow United there in the Conference
and Mallow
League.
Town, just 2 teams that just play each other. We were talking about playing the same team. Maybe they play each other every week.
That's it. Yeah, it must be.
But so they're coming down. But I think you caught up with Tim before on the press conference. Bit of a look ahead to it, look forward, and a bit of an update on injuries as well, which is the main thing we're all looking for.
Good, yeah, no, I was talking to you after Drogheda on Monday just to get confirmation. Seani is okay for Friday, is that right?
Look, we have to get a couple more sort of follow-up tests this week, but look, we're looking forward to Friday, and the hope is that Seani's going to be on the bench Friday and hopefully be available to be on the pitch. We just need to get some more biodex stuff done. Follow-up scans to see where he is from the scans we got 3 weeks ago, where there was very positive signs, and he's done a lot of work since then. So just after confirmation with that, Johnny should be available on Friday.
And just given his history with injuries, have you had to be particularly careful on this one?
Yeah, but also how Seani looks after himself, he does everything right. So we're not rushing him back. He's not rushing it back. He does things correctly. So once all the indicators from Joe and the medical team come back and show positive signs, then we can phase him back into match play, and we're hoping that's on Friday night.
Yeah. And just anyone else tell us, Greg okay?
Greg Budge will be involved Friday. Milan's going to be involved Friday as well. Obviously, Josh Fitzpatrick will serve his last game of his ban. So, look, there's 4 players back into the squad that we didn't have available the last couple of games. And then Malik is probably another couple of weeks away from joining back in with the squad on match nights. And then I think that's the only ones. Obviously, Benny Couto's a bit longer. Keats is still out for the season, and Conor Dryden's a bit longer as well.
Okay. And then just looking at Friday, when you beat Waterford, it looked like you were right in touch with them, but they've won 3 in a row and you got beaten on Friday. A bit of a 6-point gap there now. Is that a concern? like we've 4 games to go and we'll be halfway through the season by the end of the month?
Concern? No, not really. We can't look at everyone else and start worrying about whatever other people are doing. If you look in the period they've won their 3 games, we've conceded in the 96th minute a penalty against Drogheda, and we've also conceded 90th minute against Sligo, and we've dropped probably 3 points there that we should have. So that's the frustrating side of things for us. We've probably not defended correctly coming into the end of games in the last lot of weeks. If you take out the 2 goals, I know it's hypothetical, but you're only 3 points off Waterford, who are only a point off Shell, so you're right slap bang back into the group. We feel the frustration of everyone. There's nobody more frustrated than myself on the sideline and my staff and the players themselves at the end of games. I think the 4 bodies hopefully back in the squad on the 3 on Friday and Josh back in after, the 4 bodies will help us with experience and know-how more or less, and that'll give us a massive boost coming into the mid-season break.
Just finally for me, if Derry on Friday, you went ahead up there and they came back. What have you made of them since?
Look, I think it was probably a turning point for Derry. Again, they've won a good few games in the last lot of weeks. It's the difference of what a few wins back to back can do for you. Drogheda hadn't won in 4 games. I know Kev came out after the game and said that they were by far the better team. I'm not sure that's correct. Looking at the game, I think it was a pretty poor game. There wasn't a lot of quality in it. We dealt with most of the direct balls that they put in. We didn't deal with the last one, which was the 94th minute or something when they won the penalty. And Drogheda are top of the league. So again, we're leaving the pitch where we're not. We haven't been outplayed. We haven't been. It certainly wasn't a game where they were a far better team. That's just not factually true. And that's the frustrating thing, because we probably have 3, 4 points, 5 points maybe worse off than what we should be, and that's the really frustrating things for us and our fans as well, that we can understand the frustration that we probably should be a lot closer to the pack ahead of us than we are.
Right, Tim, best of luck Friday.
Cheers, John, thanks.
I might trim in there. Tim, how's it going?
Sean, how are things? You well?
Yeah, very well, thanks. You mentioned it's amazing the difference, 2 or 3 wins or a week can make in this league, and just looking at the table, like 5 points between 1st and 7th. Like, I know we're coming up to the halfway point of the season, but have you ever seen anything like this, a congested table such as this?
No, it's been incredible. I think as well, you look at Rennie at Bowes, he's had a brilliant, but I know they got beat by Waterford. If you look at the last 4 games they've won, I think the earliest goal that the winner they got in that was against us, which was the 87th minute. So it's massive, the difference in late goals and seeing games out or getting winners. They've had I think 2 96-minute winners and a 97-minute winner in the last 14 days, and it's put them in a position now where they're back talking about where they can challenge right at the top and win the league. So probably before the game against us there might be a lot of talk elsewhere about Bowes, and it's that type of season, like, where if teams get them winners and get the back-to-back wins, it can catapult them right up the table. And there's very, very little. There's 1 game this season we've walked off the pitch and felt that we were inferior to the opposition, and that was Shamrock Rovers and Tala. And I've got to take a lot of the heat for that, because I thought we were probably a bit naive in how we wanted to press them and be too adventurous in getting the ball back. And look, we changed that at home. Yes, you're going to have to ride your luck against the likes of Shamrock Rovers at the minute, but we did that and we ended up getting a positive result a week ago.
Can that instill confidence to the players if they are going through, a bad result, to that all it takes is even like a quick Friday, Monday turnaround to turn things around and you're looking up rather than down? Yeah,
I think the Friday, Monday's killing us at the minute. Drogheda made 6 changes to the starting 11 from Friday to Monday. We didn't. We're not in that position at the minute where we just don't physically have the bodies that to do that. I know we have a lot of talented young players at the club, but if they're not ready to get thrown into Premier Division football from the start, you could do them more damage than good. Experience is good to get, But if it's all negative experience at that age, it's not good. So we don't have that. The Friday Mondays have sort of killed us a little bit. In the last month, we've had, I think, 4 of them. So the squad hasn't been there. But look, we're getting bodies back now. And that certainly is going to help us in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and just lastly for me, I said, Colin Healy's obviously going to Kerry this week. So he's out of the equation now. Is there any plans for an assistant manager or any news there?
Yeah, look, we're still looking. Again, it's about making the right appointments. Same with the signing of DD. We had loads of options. We had to wait until the right one came along that made sense. So there's negotiations with multiple people as well. But at the minute we have myself, Cairns is helping out, Greg Everton's helping out as well. And obviously Greg Bulger's been doing a hybrid role from the start of the season as a player coach. So yeah, look, we're doing all right. It's not something that we're panicking and we're just going to get anybody else in. So when the right person comes along and it makes sense for everyone, it'll happen.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim. Good to see you.
Cheers, Sean. Thanks.
Hey Tim, it's on here. How are you?
How are things? You well?
I'm grand. I remember talking to you up until after that day. You said that it was the one you weren't at it. You really looked for a reaction out of that. Do you feel you got a reaction beyond what it was like earlier in March and February?
I don't think it was the only game that we had I thought, especially the goals just on the stroke of half time killed us. It goes 2-0. It's a goal in the 90 or the 46th minute, and then we conceded in the 48. 3 minutes into the second half, they made it 3-0. The sort of game was put to bed, and we probably did start looking at the Monday game after that then, or the next game. Sorry, that was a Monday game. We looked at Friday then. So that's the only game I think we didn't compete in. I think we had the Bows game after that on the Friday, and I thought we were excellent. We probably had the better chances in that game. Then we conceded from second phase from a corner in the 87th minute. I don't think TT had a save to make in that game. I thought the lads were really good. And then obviously we had the Waterford win. We had the Sligo draw where we were ahead in the game. We conceded in the 90th minute. Again, very little in the game. And then we obviously had the draw home to Shamrock Rovers, and then draw to losing in the last kick of the game from a penalty. Was a sickener on Monday. But again, I think the reaction and how the lads have been, competitiveness, and obviously trying their best to, excepting Trevor there, trying their best to get performances and get results, and we're a fraction away from getting a draw against Drogheda, which probably would have been a fair result.
Yeah. Do you look at it? I mean, I know there seems to be a gap growing now between 8th and 9th because of the way Waterford have had that run, but like as you say, like without 2 late goals, you're 4 games unbeaten. Yeah,
look, there's very little in it. There can be a gap. There can be look, the reality is we need to get results. Trev, could you mute that, please?
Yeah, can't.
There you go.
All right.
So look, there's obviously a gap there that we want to close before it gets bigger. But again, we can't be worrying about what everyone else is doing. If someone else is winning games, it means there's another team that's losing games as well. So we just have to concentrate on ourselves, and that starts on Friday against Derry, who are an informed team at the minute. I think Tiernan has turned the corner there in the last month or so. He's got some really good results, and they're looking on the up. So again, it's going to be a game like every single game in this league. There's never going to be an easy one, and Friday night's going to be no different for us.
Yeah, I suppose the big thing from that press conference is the fact that Seani's back in the squad. I suppose that's the
big boost.
Yeah, what he said, 90% chance of playing. I think he said.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So
that's a big boost.
It's massive.
God,
yeah,
he's been
sorely
missed. Is it the Waterford game? He's been out.
Waterford
since.
away. Yeah, himself and
So
Greg
what?
got injured in the same game. Yeah.
What are we talking? The third or fourth game of the season? That was early anyway. I know that.
Yeah, it was the third, I think. Yeah, very early.
So, we've been missing him for a couple of months now, and
he'll be a huge addition. Even if he only gets a couple of minutes towards the end, it'll be brilliant to see him back. There'll be a video on our socials. It'll be up by the time you're listening to this. But he was training today. I watched training for a bit, and just seeing him back out there running around, getting involved, it's brilliant to see.
Plus, he's a leader as well. He's that age where he lead the line, but he lead the team as well.
And the younger players know, first of all, what he's capable of, but secondly, what he's won at this club. So they all look up to him. So having him back involved fully, it's brilliant. And from a fan's point of view as well,
forget the
it's
fact
exciting.
He was also an Irish international.
Absolutely.
So he's played, he's played, what was it? I think 11 times, I think, for around that anyway. So,
brilliant to have him back.
So it's great to have him back. But he's not the only one back. Obviously, Greg and Milano back as well.
Yeah.
So,
two also massively
players.
missed over the last few weeks. Yeah.
And guys that will drive man.
Absolutely.
I know Josh is still suspended for this one.
It's the last game of his suspension. Yeah, so he'll be back in action for the following week. But
I think the big thing they're taking from the press conference there was I suppose Tim knows that there are small margins in a lot of these games, like a lot of late goals conceded.
Yeah, if there are mistakes being made, they're being identified. Do you know what I mean? And they know what to work on. So. As he was saying, though, it's encouraging that you look at the next couple of weeks. It's almost a light at the end of the tunnel situation because you see players are starting to come back. There'll be more coming back over the next couple of weeks. Malik is still to come back involved as well.
Hopefully by the end of the month, I think. Yeah.
So it's we're nearly there. We're nearly there.
Of course, we're nearly there. But then we got another setback there that we didn't mention on last week's show because we weren't really sure. And Benny, who probably was one of the star players at the start of the season for us so far.
Benny had a great start. If you look at the League of Ireland accounts have been putting out updates,
the most crosses. Yeah.
And Benny's still second and hasn't played in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So it shows the impact Benny had.
So he's out for a couple of months, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, I think it's an ankle ligament issue. I think he had to have surgery. Tim confirmed that last week in the presser, which was after we recorded the pod. So again, it did feel for a while there like everything was going against us. So
the doc must be busy at the moment at the club.
Yeah, everyone's earning their pay anyway the last couple of weeks. But hopefully now, touch wood, there's no more big injuries like that because you're getting decimated.
I think the other thing there, what Tim was saying there in that press conference was just and we kind of mentioned it, the double weekends were hard for us because when you have so many injuries, I don't think he was inclined to throw the young lads in, because that, as he said there, that could be to the detriment of them. We have to think about their future. I'd say that's probably the difference between the Premier Division and the First Division. In the First Division, you could throw them in.
Yeah, and we obviously had we had an extra game to contend with as well because our Shamrock rearranged game was lumped in for a Monday in the midst of all the other Monday Fridays.
Which meant we had 3 lots of Monday Fridays in the space of about a month.
Yeah, and a lot more travelling than some of the other clubs. I know we mentioned it before in that same sort of spell. Bows had a 6-game run where they didn't leave Dublin.
Yeah.
So, a couple of things working against us there. The amount of games, the amount of travel, the amount of injuries. So, you could feel hard done by to an extent.
Yeah, you definitely could. It's a hard one for him because I suppose some of us might be looking sometimes and saying, well, you're not throwing a couple of the young lads, give them a go, or whatever. But it's easier.
You understand it. Yeah, you get why. You get why.
Yeah, I suppose we all got excited last year when we saw the likes of Cahill and Jaden breaking through, and then there was a few of the other lads that getting kind of game time as well. But you can't do the same. I know David came on there.
In Drogheda.
Yeah. But he's still very young.
Yeah, and there are other players as well, I suppose, featuring on the bench over the last couple of weeks who the likes of Luke Downey, Finn Dalton, players who kind of haven't made an appearance yet, but they're getting in and they're experiencing it. Yeah, they're training, they're experiencing a first team match day, what goes into it, kind of, so they know what they'll be stepping into when they do inevitably come in.
Obviously we just listened to the press conference there. So when that happens, now is it all nowadays on Zoom, or how does that work? Because I hear your voice kind of coming in there a bit.
Yeah, it depends really on the day. I send out the press conference invite, and
where do you do it? In Bishopstown?
In Bishopstown, yeah. So depending on who comes back, typically there's, to be honest, only a handful of responses. The press conferences used to be really popular, but I think since COVID, Zoom has killed a lot of that because people know now
you'd see it in Europe.
There's an excuse not to actually have to travel. So, for the most part, there's maybe 1 or 2 come to Bishopstown, whereas before we might have had 7 or 8. But
so there
1 or 2 in Bishopstown.
Echo somewhere. Or
yeah, it's typically Trevor Welsh, Andrew Horgan, Noel Spillane, and there's a Zoom option as well for those who are the Dublin media or the national media. Do you know what I mean? So,
are you finding those numbers are kind of going up a bit again?
It's a weird one. We were actually, I was really worried this week because we had a lot of responses this week, a lot more than we normally did. And I was kind of thinking,
what's going on now?
Is there some exclusive here that I don't know about that everyone's coming in for? But it just seemed to be one of those days.
Would it be that it wasn't clashing with some other press conference?
I don't know because it's the same time every week, same day, same time. Wednesday 2:00 or 2:15, depending on how long training has run for. But that's kind of how they work. I suppose if there are any other media listening to this who want to come out or come on the Zoom, you can get in touch. howie@corkcityfc.ie is my email address. So if you are a media outlet and you're looking at covering either the men's or the women's team, give us a shout. We're more than happy to accommodate. But that's kind of the extent of it. This week, everybody was on Zoom, which makes life in Bishopstown. As much as we want them to be in Bishopstown, when they don't come to Bishopstown, it's much easier for us to get set up. So, I think we had 5 or 6 on this week. A couple might come on just to record and listen as well, which is fair enough. That's
probably
fine.
taking notes for whatever media outlet they're working for.
Yeah,
or whatever,
yeah. There's typically all the different newspapers, radio stations, and stuff like that. Obviously, Red FM and 96 down in Cork as well, which they cover everything for us, to be fair, men's and women's. So
they've always been good at covering the games,
and the Echo. They do a lot, obviously, but you always want more. So I'm often saying to them, we didn't get enough on that, or we had nobody at the women's game this week. You need to be sending someone, that kind of thing. So that's kind of how the press conferences work. Yeah. We did it for we did press conferences last year as well on the women's side, which I really want to do regularly, but the media, it's a tricky one because the women's team is obviously training in the evening.
Yes.
Because players and staff have work, school and jobs and stuff like that. And
challenges there,
then the media don't want to come to evening press conferences. So there's all this extra stuff. But I'd love to, again, if there are any journalists or media outlets that want to do that regularly, please get in touch because we always want more coverage.
And in terms of the women's game like that, like there's a lot of kind of media companies now that are focusing just on women's sport.
Yeah. And we've had a few in touch, a couple of queries about coming over and potentially doing features at a women's game, which are always welcome. So the more coverage we can get on that and the club as a whole, but the women's side definitely. So hopefully we'll have some bits on that over the next couple of weeks. But that's kind of how an inside look at how the press conferences and all that sort of thing works.
And the women have a game this weekend if people want
at home to Wexford. Yeah. Saturday, 5 p.m. Third home game in a row. We've been in Turner's Cross a lot.
Yeah.
But the worrying thing about that means that
there's a lot of away games.
We'll have a lot of away games coming up, which aren't as welcome as home games. But 5 o'clock this Saturday against Wexford. Couple of familiar faces in the Wexford team as well. Becky Casson, Freya DeMange and Maria O'Sullivan are all down there, all former City players. So that'll be an interesting one on Saturday.
Wexford are doing good, I think, in the league. Well, they're up near top 5 anyway.
Wexford they're consistently.
And they always have been. They've always had a strong enough women's team.
Winning cups, winning leagues.
Yeah.
A lot of famous players on the women's side as well. Kylie Murphy, Ella Malloy. Really, really good team.
Yeah.
And they're, as we said, they're the opposition this Saturday.
So,
5 p.m. Turner's Cross, ccfc.ie/tickets for that and for Friday night.
And speaking of tickets, next week, I know it's a week off, but probably now is the time to buy them. Back in the cinema next week for the Pats.
Yeah, if you don't fancy the trip to Inchicore, I wouldn't blame you.
A lot of people can't get time off work. I think with these type of matches,
away games they're a commitment.
Friday night, it's not like a Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, it's a commitment. You're taking half days off work or school or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that game is the next one in the Arc Cinema, Friday the 16th. Tickets are on sale for that from the Arc Cinema website, or we have it linked on our socials as well.
How much should the tickets then to go in?
$12.50.
$12.50.
$12.50. We're looking at we mentioned it in the last episode. We're looking at doing a women's away game in there as well in the coming weeks. So we hope to have news on that soon as well.
Oh, very good.
So we'll keep you in the loop there. But for now, the next one is Pat's next week, 16th, at the Arc Cinema at the end of North Main Street. It is great crack. I probably won't go to that one myself. I might go to Inchicore because I
might try and get along to that.
I've been slacking on the away games now because I've had the cinema option, but I think I'll actually go to a game.
I might try to get to that one now in the cinema, just as a novelty type of thing, if nothing else. Like, it's something.
It is good fun in there.
But
the 2 times we were there, We didn't win, so that's kind of why I don't want to anymore. So
Let's hope it changes.
I'm very superstitious with stuff like that. Now that we're not winning, I don't want to do it anymore. So
Yeah, let's hope there's a change in that. But obviously, we have to get through this weekend first. And actually, staying on this weekend, best of luck to the our Down syndrome futsal team. They're up in Dublin this weekend, aren't they?
yeah, in Abbottstown on Sunday, they've got the big cup. They're all looking forward to it. I was talking to Stewie. Everyone knows Stewie.
Everyone knows Stewie.
Talked to Stewie last weekend about it, and he's buzzing.
Yeah.
Stewie is actually doing the crossbar challenge at Turner's Cross tomorrow.
Oh, is he?
So
will he repeat his?
Well,
feat
he's told me he will. He's promised me he will.
Nights, yeah.
Yeah, he's promised me he will. So, keep an eye out for that at halftime at Turner's Cross.
Who's coaching them now? Because obviously I know Danny. Since Danny's left, he used to coach them. I think Danny coached loads of different
so
things.
Anya O'Donovan is coaching it. Anya has been around the club for years. Her sister Kate obviously played for the women's team as well. But Anya's been a coach for a long time at the club. She's involved in the women's 19s this year, but she's also sort of running the show with the Down syndrome futsal team. So Anya's the boss there, and I know they're all looking forward to Sunday. They're actually going to be wearing the new black kit as well.
Oh, they?
Which they're all been decked out in their new kit, and they're all delighted. So
yeah,
the very best luck to all of them on Sunday.
And like it's great to see so many different teams. We keep saying it, but like, and they wearing the kit and representing us and all different, whether it's the amputee team, whether it's the academy lads, the girls. There's so many different teams that we have that.
Yeah, look, we mentioned it before. Cork City, we've said it loads of times. It's not just Friday nights anymore. There's a lot more. There's boys teams, girls teams, the Down syndrome futsal team, the walking football team.
Yeah.
We
haven't mentioned him in a while, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot going on.
And actually, of the going on is the Monday memories still going on down in Turner's Cross.
That's still going on Monday mornings in Turner's Cross.
Yeah. It's a good old place for going down for a cup of tea or something.
It is, yeah. If you don't know what it is, it's essentially it's kind of just a catch up, a weekly catch up. People go in and have a cup of tea, cup of coffee, a few biscuits, and just talk football.
Yeah, yeah, no.
Loads of different topics, not just specifically Cork City, but it is a sort of a fun thing on the Cork City weekly calendar.
Yeah, and look, it's another small little community aspect of the club that it's important. Some people, it's time to catch up with pals and talk about something that they're interested in.
Absolutely, yeah. Just thinking as well, for anyone that's coming to Turner's Cross tomorrow, I know we already mentioned Stewie doing the halftime crossbar challenge, but tomorrow night's match programme, City Edition.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a special feature on. It's the 25th anniversary of the Cork City team that won the FAI Youth Cup in 2000. Yeah. So there's a bit of a feature there with you hear from Paul Bowdren, Stewie Ashton, Damien Delaney. So nice little feature on that.
Good,
little poster of the team photo as well.
Yeah. Where did you know?
I know, yeah. Most of them will probably be at Turner's Cross tomorrow, I'd say. But
probably. Damien's usually there anyway.
Damien's always there, yeah. But nice little feature. If you are heading along to the match, you can pick that up.
I see. Am I right in saying that the stand tickets are nearly gone now for the Celtic, the Super Cup game?
Yeah, it's been selling well actually. The two stands are nearly full. There are terrace tickets left, but if you're looking for a stand ticket, you want to sit down at the match, move fast on that because otherwise you'll miss out. CorkSuperCup.com. We were actually only down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh yesterday for a meeting. Place is looking very well.
Yeah,
looking very, very well. I know we mentioned the Ireland women's team are there in a few weeks, so I'll be looking forward to that. Getting a sense of what it's going to be like for us.
It's exciting the fact that Cork City are going to be playing there because
there's a real element of pride, I think, about it. For me, is that like when I'm down there now, there's a couple of posters and stuff, and we're seeing our logo and our players on the walls and stuff, and it's exciting. It's a phenomenal. If you haven't been to Páirc Uí Chaoimh, which I'm sure the majority of you have, it's a phenomenal stadium.
It is a proper stadium. Don't
get me wrong, we all love Turner's Cross.
But the facilities on the inside of it, even you can have no drink or something or whatever, food stalls, but they're all indoors, and it's just even the seating in the big stand. I don't know what that stand's called. But they're so nice.
Yeah, I know it's phenomenal.
And it looks visually good as well.
It looks brilliant
because it's right next to the river, and it's just
the area is phenomenal. We were looking at places for fan zones now and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just the silhouette of the stadium, the shape of it, the architecture. It's just a lovely place to be. It's a lovely part of Cork.
No, they did a great job in it, and it's brilliant that it's open for these type of fixtures now. You know,
and that we are able to go in there. Who would have thought that only a couple of years ago?
Ah, God, if someone told a younger version of myself. I remember writing into the Echo, I think, or someone like that. I think I found a clipping of it when I was in school, giving out about the GA hosting an American football game, but not alone soccer in any of the stadiums. Yeah, and back then it was a big controversy. Like I don't know, college football or something like that, and they held that in Croke Park. But eventually they turned that rule around. Then when the Aviva was being built,
and Ireland played in Croke Park, and it was the Liam Miller match in Parky Queeve, which sort of swung it down here.
Yeah,
whatever about Dublin.
There was a bit of controversy around that at the time as well. There was
there was a bit of pushback on it at the time, but yeah.
But no, it seems just like, I mean, the women are about to play their second match there.
Yeah.
But this will be the first club game.
Yeah.
You know, like as in an actual, because the testimony, the Liam Miller game was kind of more like it was a charity event. It's a charity event. Yeah. It's slightly different, like, you know, but this is actually two clubs, you know.
This is, and whatever about club football, from our point of view, from my point of view as a Cork City fan, it's a Cork City match.
Yeah.
At Parky Queeve, which is phenomenal. Like.
And there's a cup.
Exactly.
We might win a cup. Like.
And we will.
You know, Celtic might
the Cork Super Cup.
They'll be only coming back from an old pre-season as well. No, like, so, you know, they'll be only getting warmed up at that point.
Yeah, and we'll be well up for it.
We'll be well up for it. So I'm looking forward to the festivities around it.
Yeah, it's going to be a great occasion.
It's a great chance for us to try something different in our own city.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, so, and if you haven't seen it, or if you haven't heard me earlier, it's corksupercup.com for your tickets.
Yeah. So yeah, but in the meantime, we have other fixtures, and we'll be playing against Derry. By the time this goes out, it probably may be on the
match
way.
Day. Yeah, you'll be on the way to the cross.
On the way to the cross. We always have a good relationship with Derry. I think there's a kind of common respect between both clubs. I just want to, maybe it's because we're opposite ends of the country or something.
Yeah, we all appreciate the distances we have to travel to get anywhere.
And we're probably all giving out about the Dublin clubs.
Yeah, we can bond over that. Yeah. The Dublin media that don't cover Cork or cover Derry.
Yeah, so
doesn't stretch that far. The signal doesn't stretch down to Cork.
Looking forward to that, and yeah, sure. Look, if you're around the place, don't forget we mentioned it last week. There's new merchandise in the shop as well. So if you want to pop in and get the black,
lovely new black range flying out the doors. Yeah, everybody's loving it. So
no, plenty of stuff to do, and next week will be the first week in a while. Well, we won't have two fixtures in a row, kind of like so.
Yeah, time to breathe.
Time to breathe again.
Time to relax. Put the feet up for a day or two.
Yeah, take a handy again.
Try and get a normal schedule going.
Yeah. And we'll be back next week, and we promise. So I know we said it last week. We get a guest in, but with the
we've got Frank Kelleher lined up as well, women's manager. We haven't heard from him yet.
Yeah. So and we'll try and get one of the new players in as well. So definitely all these things will be try and sort it over the next few weeks, and we'll do more on that big Super Cup game in Parky Queeve as well. So there's plenty of things to look forward to over the next couple of weeks.
Might even try and get down to Parky Queeve, will we?
We might.
Go down for a nose.
Might get out to Hurley or something.
I'll give that a skip, I'd say.
But anyway, looking forward to the game tomorrow night. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.